and welcome to everybody on our webinar on soft skills today. I'm so excited to have you all joining this because this is really a topic to my heart. I really love this topic. So the question we're going to ask ourselves is a bit Shakespearean. In that sense, I really like Shakespeare as well. Shakespeare once wrote, "To be or not to be." That's the question. I think we can state that being is a fact, and the question that we're going to ask ourselves is, are we going to shine while we're being or not? And I think when it comes to seeking jobs, that's not really even a question. So you have to shine. And today I hope to give you some tools to try to shine during job interviews, which is, as I know, very difficult. It's not easy to talk about your strengths and your weaknesses, but I hope to give you some uh, back to do that on a fluent way as from now. Now, before we start, I compare seeking a job always with shopping. I'm not really a huge fan of shopping anyway, but I don't know how you go to the market or to the shop, but most of the times I'm coming home with things that I don't need at all because I happened to be hungry when I was at the supermarket, or I have forgotten the things that I actually needed. So I compare job seeking with shopping because you have to do your homework and try to take your time to bring your shopping list and to think about what you need and what you don't need when you're going for a job. Now, of course, this is not that easy, and we are in a labor market today, which is kind of paradoxical. I think you have noticed all that we're in a very technological period now, and even in the HR process, a lot of technology is used and a lot of digitalization has entered, which makes it somehow a bit more difficult to feel the people part of the HR. Um, I'm here to tell you that it's exactly the opposite of that. We see that due to the fact that recruiters get the support of technology and digitalization, there is more room for people. And the importance of soft skills are really rising up. We're seeing that things like creativity, communication, taking initiative, or critical thinking, problem solving, those are actually the skills that employers are looking for today. And we see that also in the recruitment process, soft skills take up a large part of the things that they do. So whenever you're going to seek for a job or have job interviews, you will see that the focus will be on real time, on the predictable data. What does that mean? It means that interviewers, recruiters are most of the time going to look for your behavior in certain situations, but look at the past, how you did some things, and then try to predict how in more or less the same situation you will react in the future. So we're actually interviewing and predicting your behavior. And to do that, we need to have an insight in personality, your attitude, but also your motivation. And that means that if you just look at how we used to recruit, how we used to look at basic facts, very down to earth facts like what do you know, what is your experience, what did you study, do you have any certificates, any diplomas, which branch do you have experience to? We see that those statistics, well, let's not say that they are not important, but they are losing and dissolving a bit their importance in the whole process of finding a job. And where we are now today is that we are rather hiring for attitude and potential instead of what you have already accomplished. So that opens up a world of opportunities in the job world. But it also means if we split up the branches and we just say we're looking at how you behave in certain situations and not in certain jobs, that immediately means that we expect a lot of learnability and agility of employees. And don't forget those two soft skills. So it's already a giveaway of the two most important soft skills at this point in the labor market: learnability, being able and willing to learn new things, to open and broaden your perspective, and on the other side, to be agile, which means you can adapt quickly to new situations, to new tasks, to other roles that you have to play within an organization. So we see that those two coincide and are very important also in the interviewing process to seek whether somebody has that capacity or not. It's a bit to a survival attitude, let's say. I'll come to that later on. So as the employees, we will need that instinct to survive in the future as well. So to resume, be prepared if you're looking for a job. You have to know the job description very well. Why? Because it's a giveaway of the soft skills that you need. If you go through a job description, you will see that it's filled up with soft skills and with values, things that the organization finds important, things that they ask before you can start there. So the job description is just a giveaway. Um, of course, you have your CV with your data, your historical data, the things that you have done, your experience, your diplomas. You have to bring that. You have to have that. But the most important thing is that you can be prepared for the questions they're going to ask. And of course, they're going to ask a lot of questions about the job, whether you know what the job is about. Have you read everything? Do you understand what the function is like? Also, do you know the organization and the culture of the organization? Have you taken the measure also to look into the website? Do you know what they stand for? What is their mission? What do they want to do? What do they want to do in the world? Um, and you also have to know why you want to do that job. A question that you will hear a lot is, why are you so interested in this function? Why do you want to be a part of our family? And last but not least, and that's the part we often forget to prepare, is to be prepared on questions about yourself. We tend to think in all those historical details. I have to prove that I have experience in that. I have to prove that I have certain diplomas. I have to prove that I have certain knowledge. But we tend to forget that we, as a person, um, put something out there in the world, and that exactly that is what the employer wants to know about you. What do you put out? Why do you get out of your bed in the morning? What moves you? What irritates you? Those are the questions that you have to be prepared for, because they will certainly ask you that. So, to resume again, I will get back to the point of the soft skills, but of course, what are they going to ask? They are going to ask you what you want to do and what you don't want to do. They are going to ask you when you are able to work. These are hard data. Are you willing to work during day, in shifts, in the weekend, full-time, part-time? These are hard facts which you can easily answer. Also, where do you want to work? And how are you going to get to work? In which region are you going to work? But we always forget the question, who are you? And given the fact that these personality traits are so important for employers today, this is really a question that you have to think about on beforehand. Of course, I know it's very difficult and we don't like to brag about ourselves, but I hope to give you some advice on, or some tips on how to research yourself for those qualities today. Now, one of the things that you hear a lot is that in the job description is often stated that they are looking for somebody with experience. And when I am in contact with job seekers, I often get that feedback, like, yeah, well, I can't postulate for that function because they're asking for a certain experience. Yeah, of course, they are asking for a certain experience, but Unless you are still in your baby bed after you have been born, I'm sure you will have had some experiences in your life. And try to look at experience as something broader than just your technical skills. As I said, the borders between branches are evaporating. That means that maybe if you have worked within, I'm just saying something, within care, and now you're looking for a job within retail. These are two totally different branches. And I'm sure that there are a lot of skills, a lot of experience that you had in your care job that you can just copy paste to your retail job. And we tend to think, oh no, that's something entirely different. I can't postulate. Well, stop looking at technical skills. Try to look at behavior. Which behavior in that job can I copy paste to the new job I'm postulating for? So that's already a question to ask yourself. What of my skills that I have due to the past experiences that I did, which of those can I just take over and put in my backpack and use in the next job, even if it's something entirely different? How can I put this into my day-to-day life? Try to do that exercise for yourself. Sit down, take a piece of paper, and just scribble down what are my skills, what is my behavior that I show as an employee and which I can copy paste. I already gave this a little bit away. So we have those hard skills versus those soft skills. And if we look at how we recruited in the 80s, 90s, nillies, we see that hard skills had a large importance. But today in the labor market we're at now, we see that soft skills are already more important than technical skills. You see here the hard figures, 56% weight to the interpersonal skills, the soft skills, and 44 to the technical skills. And even those technical skills often are interrelatable between branches or jobs. So I hope to give you a positive message that with your attitude and your potential, you are able to find a job somewhere. Now, I cannot hear you, I cannot see you, but I can feel the vibe and the energy. And I really sense here that you're very eager to discover how you can, just show your unique set of soft skills. Now, first of all, we have to ask ourselves the questions, soft skills. What is it? Well, I often compare it to or I often give the example, if I ask all of you, who of you speaks fluently Greek? I think not a lot of people speak fluently Greek, myself included. But if I would ask you, okay, let's say we see each other again 1 year from now. I'll give you 1 million euros if you are able to speak fluently Greek next year. I'm quite sure you'll all get back to me next year and speak fluently Greek. This is a technical skill. Language is an example of a technical skill. Of course, in certain jobs, we do need some technical skills. I hope if I ever have to be in hospital, that the medicine there, that the person who has to operate on me at least has some technical skills. But he will also need some soft skills. And those soft skills are actually something that you cannot change. Whereas technical skills, go back to your example of Greek, you don't know Greek, there's a very large possibility that next year you will be 100% Greek. Whereas if today you are not a great orator and you don't like to put yourself out there before a large audience, you will learn some tips and tricks how to cope with that, but you will not change into a person who adores standing in front of groups. You cannot entirely change your personality. You get to cope your skills there, but you cannot change it entirely. So that's the difference between technical skills and soft skills. So if that's difficult for you to find, ask yourself the question, Is this something I can learn, or is this something that I can try to cope with and learn about? Now, to get back to the question, what are soft skills? That's rather difficult because they're a mix of a lot of things. Of course, there's the spiritual thing that everybody is born with a certain personality that has for a large amount to do with your genes. That's something you do not decide. I don't know if some people are a bit more spiritual. Some say it has to do also with the stand of the planets, with your astrological sign. So, but you can believe in it or not. There are some proof that somehow this is correct. We don't know why, but this is the mystic thing about personality. We don't know why, and science also does not exactly know why. So you're born with that. That's your set of skills and genes and personality that you have. Now, during your youth, that's a massive period, although it's a short period of your life, your upbringing and your education molds that. So you have your set and your personality. You will not alter entirely, but and for you this is very conceivable if you have grown up in a country where you have met war and difficult situations, and that has been your youth, that will somehow alter the values that you take with you in your life. So your upbringing, your education, that will alter, and that will give you certain values you go by. If you have always heard your parents say it's important to be on time, well, it might be that you adopted that value, although maybe you're not all that structured, and but just think that it is important to be on time. And then last but not least, as I said, if you have been born in a world in a war, for instance, or you have known difficult situations, traumas, that might steer your behavior. So we see people that have the personality as an extrovert, but due to disappointments, life-altering changes, have become very closed. So we see that there is that possibility, but in a sense, and I'll get back to that, your personality has not changed. And to do the opposite of what your personality says actually asks a lot of energy. So it's, yeah, you can discuss about that. You can change, but it's really, yeah, melting you down. Now, the nice thing about soft skills is that people are not that complex. um, we are all use the same behavioral competences, and all of the studies that science has done, that psychology has done, psychiatry has done, all melts down to this: human behavior can be explained by a set of approximately 40 soft skills. Not that much. So it's a limited set of skills, which is easy, which is good because then you can get to explore in it, inside of it. But you cannot change it radically. Whereas technical skills, there's no end to technical skills, but you can adapt to technical skills. Those 40 skills, then there's a lot of people who studied on them and then tried to put that in what we call competency models. Now, competency models are actually, let's say it for those who know science a bit, the table of Mendeleev of the soft skills. They put it into a sort of grid to give some structure to it. The structure that I like the most is the one that I have put here on this slide. There are a set of skills that have to do with yourself, managing yourself. For instance, stress management, coping mechanisms, adapting to new situations, learnability. Do you have learning eagerness or not? That's something that has to do with yourself. Then there are skills that have to do with others. For instance, how do you communicate? How do you cooperate? Are you a networker or not? And there's, third of all, the tasks and time. This is actually very basically going to, for instance, punctuality. Are you somebody who works structured? Do you like planning and organization? So the task-oriented things. Then fourth is dealing with information. For instance, how easily do you integrate new information? Do you analyze in a good way? Are you able to synthesize things, to see that there are links between things? Can you make a vision? These are things to do with information. And then the last set of behaviors is the behaviors where you steer others. So it's different than dealing with others. It's actually managing others in a certain way. For instance, when you coach somebody or you give advice to somebody or you're inspiring someone or managing a team, then you're actually in a steering position rather than a cooperating position. So these are, in my opinion, I find this clarifying because that really shows where are the sets of skills. And then you can go and look on which level you are. I will show you a competence model that I like the most, and I is a little bit based on the 5+1 model of Hudson. You can always Google that if you want. It's not entirely the same because this is how I feel it. So this would be my competency model. But you see here those five um, groups of skills. The first one is in the middle because it has to do with yourself, the personal management. And there is everything that has to do with coping, stress management. How do you learn? Everything you need for yourself. Then let's go to the left side, the information management. If you go at the top, these are the low end soft skills, and then gradually they grow towards developing vision. So if you look at yourself, on which level do you put yourself? Are you somebody who's good at analyzing, or are you somebody who already tries to innovate things, or are you really on a level where you are able to conceptualize or develop vision? So you see, you have to see it as low end side of information management, just processing information as you get it, high end side, developing vision. So there's a growth path there. On the other side, you have task management. Again, the same thing. If you start with executing tasks, just doing what people say that you have to do, growing through structuring your tasks, putting priorities, organizing your tasks, problem solving is the next step, decision making is another next step, and this ends up with risk and opportunity management and even organizational management, where you really build an organization and departments. And so again here, the growth path from executing tasks to organizational management. Then let's go on top of our circle, where's people management. Same thing. You can start by sharing your knowledge when you just know things and you just explain them to others. This is a type of people management, but it grows towards advising, supporting others, motivating others, coaching, managing teams, inspiring. So again, the growth path there. And then last but not least, on the bottom of our circle, it's interpersonal management. This is anything that has to do with working together with others, starting off with communicating over active listening to showing empathy and towards customer orientation and ending up with networking, where you have a really strategic role in interpersonal relations. So I don't know if that's as clarifying to you, because actually, if you would just look now at this grid, you already have approximately 40 skills, and it gives you a certain idea of where to start. Just to inspire you, some other models, if you just Google competency model online, you will find loads of them. But basically, they all do the same thing. They just try to put that set of 40 skills into a certain table of Mendeleev. And sometimes they use other, this for instance, here they say self-management, relationships, analytical management and leadership. They just use other terms, but it's actually, again, the same thing. Sometimes a little bit another name for the skill. This is another example where management and leadership is taken together, execution, interpersonal, and cognitive. So you see a lot of models are online. Just Google it. You'll find loads of information on that. And just try to choose a model where you can just go through and say, okay, these are the skills. Where do I find myself here? Going from those competency models, you can ask yourself the question, what do firms do with that? Because, okay, it's nice to have a table of Mendeleev with soft skills, but what do we do with it within an organization? Well, an organization builds up for itself a sort of competency dictionary. Let's call it the Bible of that organization. And they will collect all of the competencies that address the skills, the knowledge, the abilities that are required to work within that organization. And they base that on 3 levels. And whenever you look at the profile, you will always see that those 3 levels are present. The first level is the generic level. What is the generic level? This is where the organization looks for what values do we have as a firm? What do we want the world to know to us? We are an ecological organization where flexibility and service orientation is important. Well, these are values, and you will always see that in a job description as well. So whenever you're looking for a job and you're going through job offers, try to read that thing about themselves. They always start off with "we are." Then try to screen that text on the values that they put in, because those values are actually the no-goes in a job interview. If you don't correlate with those generic skills, those values of the organization, they will already strike you out as a candidate. So even for you, it's important to do that exercise, because you might say, oh, well, I'll just play a little theater and say I'm the most flexible person in the world. But you'll feel so unhappy if your personality is not in relation with the culture of the organization. So just don't play theater. Look at yourself. If you see a value that correlates with you, fine. But if you feel like, I cannot put my back under this, I cannot carry this value, then don't even try to do it, because you'll feel miserable within the organization. The second layer is, within that organization, you have departments, and within each department, you have certain skills that are, again, generic. I will explain that later on, but every department or every function group or every team has certain skills that they all have together. So they are not job specific, which is the next one, but they are team related. And then, so the last level is those job specific skills. Let's go to some examples between function. I think the generic skills are quite clear, because those are the values of the organization. You can find them on the website, you can find it in the mission statement, and it's also on top of the job offer. This is the first thing they start off with. We are, and we find that and that and that important, and we do that for the world. Those are the values. So click that, try to fixate on those. The second ones are those function group skills, those team related or departmental group skills. I'll give you an example. You cannot compare the finance department to the HR department in with regard to the skills that they have. You need another set of skills. I would presumably expect that within a finance department, accuracy will be important. But perhaps for the HR team, empathy is more important. Whereas I don't know if you know a lot of accountants, but I don't think that as an accountant, you necessarily need to be very empathetic. If you are, well done. But if you, it's not a job requirement to do a good job as an accountant. Whereas if you are in soft HR role, I imagine that you have to have empathy. So, and all of the people within that department will have that same set of skills because it's logical within the function group. And then the third layer is the job related skills. Now, these are the skills that are specific within a specific function. Let's go to that HR department. The payroll officer, who has to go over the wages, will have another set of skills than the HR manager. So, for instance, that payroll officer will also need accuracy, but not on a function group level, but on a job level. And this way, you get to a competency profile. And that competency profile, which is actually a script for the organization to find people, is translated into the job description. So what I am telling you here is all in the job offer. Just when you go to the job related information, we expect you to be this and this and this as a profile. This is the function group and the job related skills that you are looking for. So again, same exercise. If you don't correlate with those soft skills, just don't bother even to to apply for that job, because you might feel miserable within that department if you have an entirely different set of skills than they have. All right. I'm just going off, so I hope you're you're following still. Um, Now, the question that is burning on your tongues is, how can I play off my soft skills? Because if you go to job offers, they always ask resilient people, flexible people, stress resistant people. So just getting out with saying, hi, I'm a stress resistant, flexible person with a great sense of initiative and a healthy dose of perseverance, and I'm very collegial and positive minded. Well, I as a recruiter, and I recruit for Travi as well, I also always answer, well, aren't we all, baby? So this does not make any difference for me, because we all expect people today in the labor market to be flexible, to be stress resistant, to be perseverant. So this does not differentiate you from other people. So you have to go further than that. You have to discover your own strengths and pitfalls, which is not easy. Um, But it might help you. For instance, this is a tip that I give a lot of people. Ask a friend or a partner or a family member, somebody who is very close to you. How do they look at you? Why are they so attached to you? What annoys them about you? They will give you a very fair and plain answer on your strengths and pitfalls. Next point is, I already gave it away. Everything is in the job description and in the vacancy. So you know which behavior they expect within the function, and you know if your talent matches with that expectation or not. So do your homework before. And then last but not least, we tend to be afraid to speak about our weaknesses, but we have to show our awareness of our pitfalls. It helps HR. So don't stop at your strengths. The first thing that I say to a job seeker in an interview who says, weaknesses, I don't really know, difficult question. Well, then I say, I might have found one. I think you're not very self-critical. There's always a downside to your strengths, always. Now, this scheme might help you to find them. And this is the system of Daniel Hoffman. You can always Google that as well. You will find a lot of information about this system. Now, I will explain to you how to use this system to explore your own strengths and weaknesses. Because one of the basic questions in every job interview is, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And actually, it's very easy. We all have core qualities. Core qualities, Mark, this is not just what they expect. We are not talking here about the flexibility and the stress resilient. We're not talking about that, because everybody has to be that today. But we're talking about those things that make you stand out. One of the questions I always ask in a job interview is, everybody I talked with told me that they are the perfect candidate for this function. Why should I employ you? And it's that answer, that's your core quality. So most people have 3 or 4 core qualities that stand out, that make you different from other people. And it has to do with how you do things. I will get to an example right away, but I'll explain you how this works. If you start from your core quality, the idea behind it is that because you are so strong in it, you tend to do it too much. You do too much of it because, one, it's nice to do because you like to do that, and second of all, because that works for you. But of course, if you do too much of one thing, you're neglecting something else. And that is your pitfall. So within a job interview, you can easily say, well, I am not so strong in this and that because I'm very good at doing that. And that's a lot less dangerous for us to talk about our pitfall, because just try to do that exercise after today. There's always another side to your strength. There's always something that you don't like to do. Now you see 2 other fields. The first one is allergy. Now, what is allergy? That are actually your opposites. Those are the people on a job where you don't like to work with. Those people that make you raise your hairs and whiten your knuckles. Those are your allergy people. Now, you could think, I don't like to work with them. I personally adore working with my allergies. Because if you understand the system behind it, you can understand how you can use them in a team to uplift your pitfalls. So let's go to that allergy. Why are you allergic to something those people do? Because in their pitfall, they are doing exactly what you hate. So your allergy is their pitfall. So you can put another square there. But that pitfall they have that because they're doing something very good again. And that thing that they are doing very good, that's your challenge. You don't have to become them because you hate their pitfall, but you could learn from them things that they do, little tips and tricks, little tools that they use to be so good at what you are not good at. And that's what team energy is. So I, for myself, I adore working with my allergies because I'm an opportunist and they can help me do what I cannot do. So instead of looking at them like, "Ugh, I don't like to work with them," you could look at them, they could do what I don't like to do. So think about that tip in the future. Now, how does this work? This is a little example of how those soft skills interrelate in a team. Suppose you are somebody very punctual and tidy. This is your strength. You're strong at structuring things, at planning and organization. You're very good at being punctual. Most of the time, people who like to work that way are also overly organized, in that sense that they don't, for instance, like to be disturbed in the middle of something when they're busy working a task from A to Z. It's not nice if people just drop in and just try to blah blah with you or just give you something else to think about or work on. It means that it's not always the case, but most of the time, people who are very punctual and very organized, their pitfall is that they are overly organized and a little bit of rigidness. Now, people who are that way, which is perfectly okay, we need a lot of punctual and organized people to be sure, but they hate the opposite of that. People who just blah, 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 blah. They're talking at the coffee machine all day. They're not, and then afterwards, I'm ready with my work at 5 o'clock. But then they work at still 6 or 7, just to show off that they're working very hard. But instead of being efficient during the day, that's the type of people you would not like to work with because they're not efficient. They're untidy, they're disorganized, they are really all over the place and not focusing on their job. But they can do something that you cannot. They can just leave things as they are. And they can sometimes just a little bit of making the things relative. It's not hyper important. You don't, the world does not fall apart because today you did not do step 4 of your structured plan. They can go with the flow. And you don't have to become a go with the flow and carpe diem person, but it would be nice if you just learned to adopt some of their skills to let it go. So this is then your working point or your challenge. I like this. Just as a personality scheme, for those who have already followed one of my webinars within this project, will remember this. This is the insight discovery. Insights discovery, to give you a little bit of history, comes from the MBTI, which we will see later on. But I find it a very easy way to talk about your soft skills and how you take up a role in a team. If you look at this, there are 4 colors, the blue, red, yellow, and green, and we will see right away what those mean. Blue people are people who are rather on the planning and quality side. They think in logical steps, they like to be prepared, monitor projects, and are rather accurate and structured. It's a bit of the example I did with the squares. So it's this person. Red people are focused on results. They are performance driven. Most of the times they are also in leadership positions. They want to achieve results and reach those goals. They like to be ahead of things and adopt a little bit of a directive style. Green people, those are the people who like harmony and togetherness, people who work towards a nice atmosphere within the team, look for a safe environment, are also a lot of the times ecologically minded in the large picture of the society. They work by values and standards, so they're very hard-headed on those, and most of the time the most caring and patient persons in the team. And then last but not least, the yellow people. The yellow people create vision. They're not always the most easy because they're all over the place most of the time. They always see possibilities, innovations. They adore brainstorming. But as it comes to executing everything and planning, then they need a blue person because they're not able to do that. They just lose interest. They're always looking for new ideas, new visions of the future. They tend to make unusual connections between information, are very sociable, and the dreamers of the team. So I think that probably you will have found your color by now. The mantra of a blue person is let's do it, but let's do it right, in the correct way, in the right manner. Let's use procedures. Let's use the rules that we go by. A red person will say, let's do it, but let's do it now. Let's not postpone. We have to reach goals. A green person will say, let's do it, but if we can do it in a caring way for the environment, for our team, for people in so most of the caretakers, for instance, or people in social jobs are most of the times green. And then the last, the yellow ones are let's do it, but let's do it together. So very energetic and very all over the place. You see already here within those colors and the left side of the screen, there are again skills. So you could also use those skills to talk about yourself. Oh well, I'm a blue personality, which means I'm precise. I like accuracy. I like to question things. I find it important that if we do something, that there's a certain sense of the risks of the things that we do. So you can talk about your skills by your color. Some people are, of course, this is not black and white. Sometimes you're somewhere in between. Um, these are the roles. I will not go over every role, but we see, for instance, there's a purple personality. The purple personality has a lot of blue, so it's quite structured and organized, but is able to manage a team, for instance. Um, and there's also orange personalities, which are they are also, they create vision, but they can manage a team. But you will see that it's more of a self-sufficient team, a team that is self-driven rather than very directive. So you see, you can play with that. This is also a little bit of homework. Try to look at this and which of those roles do you naturally take up within a job? Are you an observer? Are you rather in a supporter role? Are you the one that always offers help or the one who motivates? So try to do that for yourself afterwards. And of course, with your strengths are some pitfalls. Giveaway, if you are very precise, then you can come across on a bad day as very stuffy and rigid and not very cooperative. Somebody who's yellow and very enthusiastic can be very frantic and flamboyant on a bad day. So both hang together. You have good days, you have bad days. So here are the energies of every color within their day. I already talked about the insights discovery, which is the 4 colors you saw. I, for myself, like the MBTI even more. This is earlier. So before the insights discovery, there was the MBTI. It's more explored. Within the insights, you only have 2 dichotomies. I will show right away what they are about thinking or feeling, and about introversion and extroversion. Here you have 4. This is based on the studies of Carl Jung. I really adore Carl Jung. For those who like to read about this, I can really stress that Carl Jung is the way to go. But due to the studies of Carl Jung, Myers and Briggs at a certain moment have said, how can we put those personality traits into, again, a table of Mendeleev? So if you look at this, this is again a table of Mendeleev where more or less everyone is put in a square. Of course, it's again not that black and white as here, but more or less there are 16 personalities if you look at it. And now the question is, which personality of all those are you? Therefore, we have to dig in the 4 dichotomies. The first one is extroversion and introversion. And you have to see this as a continuum. This is not black or white. It's not either this or either that. Some people are in between. So they are charging with energy with certain people, but yeah, rather less energetic with others, like to be on themselves on certain times. So you have to see this as a continuum between 0 and 1. So you're somewhere in between, never on either side. The second dichotomy is sensing and intuition. This has to do with how you learn. We're going to do an exercise on that right away. And then the third one is thinking and feeling. This is how you make your decisions. And then the last one is judging and perceiving. This is how you organize your life. Now let's get into that. First of all, I'll give you this little exercise and you can use the chat to answer. So I'm looking at my assistant Marina today to try to cover your answers a bit, but try to think about or imagine a situation where after a long day at work, you enter your car and you have to drive home for a long while. What do you do while you are in the car? Do you immediately, in a safe way, call someone, hands-free, of course, just to pass time while driving? Or do you just put on some music or even absolute silence and just enjoy the time in absolute solitude? What do you do? Do you do A, calling someone, or B, absolute solitude? So you can just put in the chat A and B. And Marina, if you see, can you just say a lot of B's or a lot of A's? Where is the See?
Yeah,
So,
do you see
yeah.
Jocelyn C? So, Hannah, we don't know what do you mean by C? You do something else, or
I
you
think
call
it's
to
somewhere
somebody
in
and you
between.
sing.
Yeah, yeah. I think that those are those people who are in between. Because on a good day, I'm going to call somebody. If it was a hard day, I'm not going to call anybody. So, as I said, it's not black and white. Some people are genetically in between. No? So I see a lot of A's and B's, so it's a mixed mix. So this is exactly what I mean. We're so different. We're all different from each other. So if you have answered A, you're extroversion. If you have answered B, then you're rather oriented towards introversion. But do not mistake this with being closed or not talkative or very talkative. That's the way a lot of people talk about extroversion, introversion. It has nothing to do with that. It's not because you're introverted that you don't like to talk. Um, it's really about recharging or decharging in the presence of others. Do you like to be around other people? Or are you a lot around people, but do you feel empty if you're going home? Uh, Everybody likes to go out with their friends, but some people just enter energized, and other people enter home and are, I'm tired. And this is what you have to ask yourself. Do you like to spend time alone? Or do you like to be around other people? And does that give you energy or does that take energy from you? Second question, I'll give you 1 minute to look at this, and you can put 3 words in the chat about what you see. What do you see if you look at this? What enters your mind? Which words pop up?
Yeah, so here, if possible, please describe in one word.
Yeah,
You can also do it in Ukrainian.
danger. Okay. Yeah.
I'll interpret for Jocelyn if it's easier for you to type Cyrillics.
Mm-hmm.
So thus far we have 3 answers: danger, storm, lighthouse. Lighthouse, it's a mayak. Challenge, vuurtoren. Is
Yeah,
this
that's a
lighthouse?
lighthouse. Yeah, yeah, super. Power.
Very nice.
Wow,
Деякі з вас уже гарно говорять нідерландською. A
super.
few people think power,
Mhm.
storm,
Storm.
strength, height.
Okay, super. All right, now I'll give away. This is actually a painting of William Turner. I really like him. He's very impressionistic. I adore this. But what we see is a couple of you will look at this and see the details. There's a lighthouse. There's a storm. There's a ship. I'm a bit surprised that nobody said there's a ship there, and the ship is in the water. I see the sea. People who are tending towards sensing are going to describe facts. And people who are rather intuition minded and oriented, they go to the feeling that they get. Oh, this is a dangerous situation. They imagine a whole story about it. So the question here is, are you focused on details or do you have a rather generalistic overview over things? Do you intuition people tend to roll out whole stories, add labels to things, danger, or threatening, whereas sensing people stick to objective sensory observations. And this is very interesting because that's shows you how you deal with your information and whether you use your senses or just see the big picture. And again, this is not black and white. So, third one, suppose you want a 40-day cruise to Greece and you have to depart tonight. Let's not answer this one. Think about it at home. But again, you will see two things. A lot of people will say, yes, but what about my family? uh yeah, and I have to start now, and other ones will just say, okay, I'll have to pack my bag, I'll have to take my toothbrush, must not forget my medicines. So what we see is this: the outcome of the process might be the same. You might all go on a trip, but the road you take to arrive there is different. The one hand, the thinking people are weighing logical consequences and the pros and cons, whereas feeling people will decide on the basis of the impact that will have on other people. And that defines us a bit. I'm already packing my luggage. Well, there you go. You're a thinking person. So Your preference does not mean that you cannot see things from the other perspective also, but it just means that the way you decide is triggered by other things. So do that exercise again for yourself. And then the last one, you can again answer A or B. What is your favorite holiday? A fully planned itinerary ready, read books about the region on beforehand, plan out your must-sees, or just we'll see, I'll just go, not too much planning. I don't want to miss out. A or B? I see B. Yeah, a lot of B's. Very
I
much
believe
perceiving people.
I believe
Yeah.
this is also what happened with a lot of Ukrainians. So when
Yeah,
you just
exactly.
leave and then you don't know what is out there, you just go and see
Yeah,
like whether you can spend some time in safety and
50-50.
security.
Exactly, yeah. But this is about judging or perceiving. Judgers are list makers, planners. They like structure, they like predictability of things. Perceivers are go with the flow and prefer flexibility and being surprised. Of course, again, not black and white. Some people are in between and are like, yeah, well, it depends on who I'm traveling with. It's a typical answer for somebody who's exactly in between. How safe do I feel with the person I'm traveling with? Then I'm B, rather perceiving. But if I am, then I am judging. So it depends. Okay. I want to mark out that we have a very good tool, Test Your Selfie. I will not go to that immediately, but you can do it in your own time. This is about 9 skills that employers find important, and you can do some exercises on that. So just go to testyourselfie.eu. You can choose English, and then you can do the things there. Now, I'm looking at the time. I only have 1 minute. Do I still have a little bit of time, Marina, to go on, or I just need some 5 minutes still?
I would say so. So, dear
Okay.
participants, we announced that the webinar will be until 11, but as you see, Jocelyn still has important information to share, and me as well. So, those who have opportunity, please do stick around for another 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Those, of course, who have next appointments, we thank you for your participation. And at one point in time, you will be able to access recording on our YouTube channel. We'll notify you by emails. Jocelyn, please continue.
Yeah, here you go. Now, if an employer asks you about your weaknesses, we already covered that a little bit, and you don't have to do the poll, but just some people try to divert the conversation then to another topic or avoid giving an answer, or some even try to convince the recruiter that you are absolutely flawless and the perfect candidate for the function, but don't do that. So openly talk about your pitfalls. I have given you the tools to look for them, and also show that you are aware of them and you are working on them. Because why do they like to know that? We already covered that. They don't want to do that to bother you or to make you nervous, but they want to get to know you as a person in all of your aspects. They want to see how you fit into a team and how your colleagues will complement you. Remember our 4 squares? We are not all the same. Your allergies, those are people who can help you in doing your job and the pitfalls that you're not strong in. They can also facilitate your onboarding and your development plan afterwards, and they help you to focus where yeah, on the points where you need support and where they can help you during the first months so you're not disappointed in working there. So they're doing that for a very logical reason, actually. Now, the last point, and I'm not going to take too much time in this, but you have all heard and you have experienced it yourself that we are living in a VUCA world. A VUCA world is a world where things are volatile, dangerous, complex, ambiguous, and uncertain. I don't have to explain to you how it feels. You all know how that feels. Um, but it means that in the labor market, we see that the same thing happens. In the labor market, things are unpredictable. It changes a lot. It's uncertain to forecast on a long term. Investments are unsure. We don't always know which road to take with an organization. It's very multi-layered. It's very undeterminable. That means that we also need employees who are agile, who can change, adapt, people who are have audacity and sense of initiative. We need people who are able to solve problems and to collaborate. So if you look at 21st century skills, tada, 21st century skills. These are actually the things that we need, and we find them here in those 4 C's: collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and communication. The skills are underneath. So again, this is again a table of Mendeleev of skills, but based on what do we need in the 21st century. They're all listed there, and most certainly you will find skills that you have yourself there as well. So do that exercise afterwards. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. I'm sorry I went over it quite quickly at the end, but I have given you a lot of homework and things to think about, and I wish you all the best of luck. I believe in you, and try to really shine with those soft skills. I'm sure you can. Thank you very much.